All right. Well, welcome back to another episode of the Blazer Victory Podcast. John Duncan here. And of course, I'm joined as always with my co host, Darian Smith and Jimmy Marion. And UAB was able to get it done over North Texas last night, 71-62. Another dub for the UAB Blazers. That's three in a row and five out of the last six. But before we get into recapping this episode, if you are not subscribed to our YouTube channel, make sure that you subscribe to us on YouTube at BlazerPod and like this video and comment what you thought of UAB's performance last night in Bartow. But also, this game recap episode and all game recap episodes of the Blazer Victory podcast are brought to you by Cahaba Brewing Company. And guys, Cahaba offers many solid beers. Like I said last time, I was able to check out the new beer, the Blood Orange Blonde. Fantastic. Go into the tap room, grab you a six pack or grab you a pint of it. Fantastic. But also, all their core offerings, whether it's the Oka Uba IPA, Pale Ale, the regular blonde, or the lager, you can't go wrong with any of Cahaba's core beers. So definitely make a visit down to the tap room. But if you can't make it down, go to your local supermarket and pick up a six pack. But thank you to Cahaba again for sponsoring the Blazer Victory podcast. But guys, UAB was able to get it done. UAB was able to get the first win over North Texas in Bartow since 2016. I didn't even realize that it's been that long since UAB has beaten North Texas in Bartow. But hey, this game was never in doubt. UAB 71-62 final, led by as many as 18 in this ball game. Jimmy, give us your initial thoughts of coming from last night's win over North Texas.
Yeah, my first thought was what you just said. Happy to see UAB defeat North Texas in Bartow Arena for the first time in what feels like forever. UNT is certainly a quality team, and I really think that they have all the pieces to make some noise in the AAC tournament, especially if they get healed up. They have a couple of guys that have been dealing with injuries, and so I'm not wanting to see North Texas for a third and possibly fourth time again this season, as UAB did the prior year. 4,800 announced attendance. I thought the energy was lacking a little bit in Bartow Arena. But, I think that we're also spoiled because we just came off two straight home games in which we hosted and won against Memphis and FAU. Both were top 25 opponents at the time, and just how electric Bartow was for that, or I should say for those games. Another quick note was my guy Trey Jemison was in the building, so that guy was not lacking for energy. He was in the front row of the student section enjoying his time just a few days after he was the starting center for the NBA Memphis Grizzlies, beating the Milwaukee Bucks on TNT. So it was always great to see Trey in the building. And, another note was for me, it was really cool just talking about kind of some of the stuff outside of the game itself, them honoring the 2003, 2004 UAB basketball team that made the Sweet 16. The reason why, that's special for me is that was actually the first season that I had attended a UAB basketball game. So Big Jim had taken us, he had bought one of those 4-game or 6-game packs, if you will. So we had attended some games that season. And then when UAB had made it to the Sweet 16, Big Jim actually took me, whatever that was, 12-year-old me, to St. Louis to watch UAB face Kansas in the Sweet 16. So it's hard to believe that the next year was when we got season tickets. And so my dad and I have been sitting in those same seats for like over 20 years now. So that was kind of a special thing to see some of those players, the same players that I was, whatever it was, 12-year-old me walking around with a autograph book and a basketball and asking them to sign, all that time ago. And so a question for our listeners, I'd be curious, when did you first start attending UAB basketball games? And if you would drop a comment on the episode and let us know when you started first watching UAB.
Yeah, put your comment right now. When did you first start attending UAB games? And let us know, because Jimmy's been going for 20 years. I haven't had season tickets until the past like 6 years, so I'm not as long of a season ticket holder as Jimmy is. But my dad grew up. I grew up going to games with my dad. And that was a very special season, 03, 04. Remember it like it was yesterday. I can't believe it's 20 years. But it was so special to, see Mike Anderson in the building again and, and some of the guys. So very awesome. But before I throw it to Darian, Jimmy, you talked about the crowd. I'm not going to beat around the bush. I was disappointed with the crowd. I know we had announced 4,700. Um, Energy felt kind of low, and I mean, I don't care if I get berated for saying that. AK has said it plenty of times. He expects 6,000 to 6,500 plus. There was nothing else going on at 2 o'clock yesterday, Sunday afternoon. I mean, unless you had something planned, like Darian played in a pickup coach's basketball game, which I need to hear about that in a few minutes.
I'm
But I
still
mean,
sore.
you still saw he was dunking on folks. But guys, come on, Wednesday night. We're not going to get into previewing Rice this episode. 7 o'clock. We need everybody in Bartow. This team, this staff, this city. We need to rally behind our team. I think Sanford's got a big game Wednesday night as well. But hey, this is AAC hoops, one of the best conferences in basketball. We know Rice, the record isn't good, but they show up to play UAB every time. Fiedler, Evie, it's the same old Rice. Scott Pereira. But come on down to Bartow, 7 p.m. Wednesday night, and let's support this team, guys. They deserve it. Let's try to get 6,000 plus Wednesday night. I know Rice isn't a quality opponent, but come on, man. Everybody, come
And
on down to Bartow.
they went to FedEx Forum and beat Memphis, the almighty Memphis Tigers.
Hey, everybody's beating Memphis now. All right, Darren. Hey, give us your
Yeah,
thoughts from the game yesterday.
yeah. About the crowd, it does make me wonder because you got FAU in Memphis, and like y'all saying that we had a good crowd for that. So I wonder, felt like the momentum was gonna just carry. I'm not gonna say that it was just like, dang, ain't nobody here, but it's not as much as what you expected, right? And from what I had to watch on playback because we had we had a award show. I'm youth coach for my girls basketball teams. So we had award ceremony and then we had a coaches game. Hey, your boy, I was doing my thing. Just a quick update. I was doing my thing. I was the best athlete out there. I
My
am
boy
not.
got an and one, didn't he? He got
I
an and
got
one.
an and what I got a highlight chase down block. I was yaks out there. I had
Looking
like
like Yaxel Lindeborg out there, man.
yeah, but I was only like Yaxel for like 3 minute increments. Like, like I wasn't even subbing out the right way. I wasn't going to the scores table. I was just like walking off the court, telling people, "Go ahead, go in for me." Like I was like, and I was thinking about the team. I was like, I don't see how they do this, bro. Like, you think about some of those guys. Like, I don't think Jason Edwards from North Texas the other day. I watched the game back. I don't think he subbed out. Like the dude was
I don't
just
think he
playing
did.
and he was good offensively. He had to shoot every shot. He was playing good defense. He was pushing in transition. I'm like, how do they do this? I was like 2 minutes and 30 seconds in. I was like, every jump, I felt like my HP. You ever played a game like Street Fighter? You get punched and your HP go down. Like my HP was just going down with every single jump. Like I was like, I can't do this. So shout out to all athletes, man. Like that's incredible. I don't think people just think about running. Some of these guys are like 200. JD is like 250 pounds running up and down the court. Offense, he's wrestling, getting and ones. Defense, he's got to be tough and physical. So just shout out to those guys. And then just back to the crowd, man. Hopefully we can find the formula that we can find the consistency. I felt like the the marketing for this game was not as. I mean, the marketing for Memphis was really good, and then for FAU it was okay. Like it was good. All right, but I didn't really hear nothing about this North Texas game. Like, of course we know, but it just wasn't. I just wish it was more consistency with that part. Just to support this program, support these guys more, to create a sense of urgency for each game, right? Not just a ranked opponent, right? North Texas is a really good team, and they were missing their lead ball handler and Nolan, and then you can tell they had nobody to really put the hoop in. I kind of felt bad for Jason Edwards. I was rewatching the game, and I was kind of like, it's UAB Blazers versus Jason Edwards out there because Bugs couldn't hit a shot. I think we did a good job of just getting him out of rhythm early, and so his open shots just weren't falling. And we played really good defensively. Like that's what happened when you get a team that relies so much on rhythm. Um, we didn't allow them to get in transition. We've been hurt in transition before. They didn't really have any transition opportunities. Um, I just thought that we was just really solid and really sound. Again, I'm pounding the table. I've been on this. Yaxel Lindeborg, to me, as I watch this conference, I don't see a better player. People can say what they want to, but I'm just my opinion as all around shoots free throws, shoots threes, he play makes. He's figured out how to get downhill and play with use his size and strength. All he needs is an angle. He's not a bad guy. Like he's not I'm gonna mix you up. I'm a step. That's Jelly Walker, right? He's a guy that he's gonna set the screen, keep the ball moving. He get his points in the offense, in the system. If he gets an angle on you, he can go to the hole. He can give you a shoulder and one. He had Aaron Scott in Alcatraz, right? He had him. Dude, it's so funny because if you're a Patreon member, you listen to John. John had some good interviews, right? Go ahead,
Patreon.
John.
I would go say, yeah, patreon.com/blazerpod. $5 a month gets you access to exclusive episodes. So join if you have not already. Patreon.com/blazerpod.
So Yaks, all those guys, if y'all wondering, like, man, I know the podcast dude was over here. I wonder what they're saying. Like those exclusive interviews are on the Patreon. So maybe we can work something out with the play. Maybe we can NIL deal with the guys. You can get access to the Patreon NIL. Ooh boy, you signed the UAB. But yeah, if you listen to one thing I kind of stood out to me was he brought up Aaron Scott. He brought him up. He said that, hey, he kind of got in my head a little bit in the beginning. Da da da. So I kind of kept note of that. Like I said, good job, John. Like, and John had some good interviews with AJ Vasquez, and he got some real good insight from Andy Kennedy. So check out the Patreon. But I saw the and one he got on. He was taking it personal. He was taking that personal with Scott, and that first and one he got, I saw him look, he screamed, man, what? Oh, he was kind of in his face the whole time. And Aaron Scott could not hit a shot. Aaron Scott couldn't stay in front of him. Aaron Scott kept fouling him. He fouled out with like 8 minutes left in the game. It was like clear fouls, and he was crying. Whenever you see a team that, they clearly foul somebody and they start doing all of this whining and crying stuff, they're frustrated. They're not really mad at the refs. They're just frustrated. North Texas is a hell of a defensive team. Hell of it. And they take pride in it. Y'all know us over here, the UAB fans, we respect North Texas. The
Mutual respect. Yes,
it's mutual respect. Like it's not like Memphis where we stumping on.
Oh, they suck. They suck, man. They suck.
Hey,
And that Will guy on Twitter
that
that's been running his mouth. Don't you feel bad for him? Well, no, you don't feel bad for him, but man,
feel bad. Feel bad. He swears that all of their losses are, oh, that's their Super Bowl. Well, god dang, how many Super Bowls people
I know,
having
right?
against y'all? Like that's SMU. SMU's beat y'all by like 30, dog. That's not their Super Bowl. Y'all just suck. What are you talking about? Hey man, like run them over, reverse the car, run them back over, and then go again. Like, like I don't. Come on, man, stop it all that. But back to the game. I just wanted to start with Yaks and his the complete master. You see the free throws. You see him drawing fouls. You see him blocking. It's all three phases for me. Is why he's the player of the year for this conference. It's you can count on him to be your best defender. He's going to get the blocks. He had 4 blocks. He can lead your team in scoring. He can draw fouls. He can hit threes, and he's going to hit his free throws. And he's going to get the most rebounds out of anybody. I don't tell me a player that's doing it. You'll have guys. I love Jason Edwards. Like I love his effort, but he's more of a scorer. He's a scorer, and he can play make, of course. But the 2-way, 3-way impact, I see nobody doing it like Yaks, man.
Yeah, if the season ended right now, Yaks has to be the player of the year in the conference. Has to be. I'm not going to reiterate every point you made, but he is the best all-around player in the AAC. Um, Shout out Yaks, hey, career high 26 points. Andy said post game on radio. I mean, he felt that he left probably like 7 points off. Left 7 points off the board, and you really can make that argument. He probably should have had 30 plus. He'll probably tell you that he probably should have had 30 plus. But I mean, also it was kind of funny. Steve Mitchell and David Crane were talking to Yaks post game on the radio, and both of those guys do a good job, by the way. We don't shout them out enough on this pod, but they do a good job. But they asked him, it's like, were you realizing that this is going to be a career high? And he said, at the moment, no, until Eric had talked to him, and after Eric told him, that you look how many points you have. He was like, well, fine, give me the ball and get to the free throw line more. So that's kind of funny. But yeah, shout out to Yaks, career high. I mean, best all around player in the AAC right now. We said last episode maybe Jonell Davis you could make an argument for him, but the way Yaks is playing, he's at another level right now. So definitely hope that keeps up to where he can get Player of the Year honors. But Jimmy, I'm gonna throw it to you to give us some stats from this ball game.
Yeah, well, since we're doing our customary, have to talk about Yaks. I mean, let's just stay on that subject for a second. So y'all said a lot of the stuff already, but I thought specifically in the first half, Yaks was on point. He started off 7 of 8 shooting in the first half. That included a big time 3 that he hit. That 3 was actually one that, speaking of the crowd, got the crowd energized. It extended the UAB lead to 9. In the first half, when you look at Yaks and you look at the surrounding teammates, Yaks was truly putting the team on his back in the first half, because despite Yaks going 7 of 8, the rest of the team at that point in the first half was 5 of 20 combined from the field. And in fact, at one point in the first half, I looked up at the scoreboard, and this might have been the M1 that you guys were talking about. Yaks hit a free throw, and he had 16 total points, and North Texas had 17 total. So it was just Yaks versus North Texas, which was wild. The second half, I think AK talked about this a little bit. He cooled off from the field. He was only 1 of 5 shooting, but he got to the line at ease. That's something that we've seen from Yaks all year long. So just in the second half alone, he was 8 for 10 from the free throw line, and we certainly benefited from that. Darian mentioned the 4 big time blocks. One thing that Yaks has done, I think he's only hit 11 threes in the season, but he's actually connected on at least 1 3-pointer in 3 straight games. And over that span, he's 4 of 6 from 3-point range at 67%. So there's a lot of chatter about Bugs and Edwards and high percentage, what they were doing from 3. I know it's much lower volume, but 4 for 6 over the last 3 games is definitely trending in the right direction for him. And all this talk about Yaks is well deserved in conference play. I was looking at this morning, he's essentially averaging 16 points, 12 boards, 2 blocks a game in AAC play. So I think his season long stats are around 13 and 10, but we talk about that a good bit, that it took Yaks a little bit of time to get going. And the last thing I thought that was awesome about Yaks was, I don't know if y'all saw it like on social media, but Brad before the game during pregame had sent me a photo that Yaks was warming up in the De Blazers shirt. So I had to send that to my buddy.
We gotta send him some Blazer Pod gear, y'all.
Yes, right. We do. Yeah.
Hey, that crowd though. Yesterday we saw the Blazer shirt. We saw the Blazer victory. Flag.
Yeah, Blazer victory flag. Richard, yeah.
was hanging up at the end of the game. So we saw Trey Jemison in the building. So we had some good vibes in Bartow for sure.
Hey Jimmy, at one point didn't Yak score like 10 straight by himself?
It wouldn't surprise me if he did. I mean, if he did, it likely would have been in the first half, because he was 7 of 8.
In the first half.
Yeah, he was dominant. I mean, he did exactly what you guys were saying earlier. Like, they just continued to feed him the ball down low. People couldn't cover him and won opportunities. He had a really nice up and under like layup that was just real nice at one point in time. So he's just pulling all the tricks out of his bag, and it's just exciting to know or to kind of think about what he's going to be able to do on this national stage as we progress, really for the remainder of the season, to start competing for that AAC championship and then the AAC tournament. Just so much more eyeballs in UAB, and Yaks is definitely, benefiting from that. But we are the biggest beneficiaries as fans, just getting to connect with Yaks. I mentioned this earlier, just a little bit more love to share with Yaks is like the small things that he does, like putting on the Blazers shirt, like his interactions with fans. Like, he just knows how to like connect with the fan base. Like, that love is real. like
And
between
he
like Yaks and UAB.
and he's a good dude. For folks that
Absolutely.
haven't met him, solid dude. I mean, you can't ask for any better. Like
I wonder if
solid
his
dude.
degrees in like communications, because he's on like every single interview, because at
He
this
needs
point,
to,
yeah,
yeah.
like he is excellent like in the interviews, and like he's getting so much just like professional experience. We're talking about being a pro, like hey, he's got NBA talent. Well, what does that also consist of? It consists of being like a professional, like being in front of a microphone, and that dude's nailing it. He's getting all these opportunities. He's earning. Let me repeat that. He's earning all these opportunities by his play. But then he shows up in front of a microphone, like doing like heck what we're doing right now, and the dude sounds like an absolute pro.
Yeah, and that stuff is important. That the connecting, especially for mid majors, right? Like, it's not everything is genuine. I've talked to y'all about numerous times about how I connected with the fans here, right? Like, and that stuff is real. Like, you feel genuine connections. If you play at a Kentucky or something, you're not gonna. It's commercial, right? It's like if you win, we love you. If you don't, you suck. Go home. Blah blah blah. We don't. Do you? I hate to go back to Memphis, but do you see how Memphis fans are doing, like Javon Quinterly and all of those guys? They freaking hate them. Those guys are 18-8. They're not a losing team, and they treat them like they're garbage. We don't do that here at UAB. We've been through times. We've been through rough times. Attendance may wane, whatever, but we're gonna have our players back. I
We're
don't
we're
care.
never gonna dog a player, yeah, and we never have the history
Never.
of this program. We've been doing this what 4 or 5 years, like, and we've never done that, and we never will.
And that is important, right? So that intimate connection is important to us because I don't know, it's like an appreciation thing. So, and it follows you after. Do you see how? Do you see? I go on this podcast, right? I listened to like a Bucks podcast the other day. They was like, "Who are these My 2K created players like Trey Jemison? This guy came out of nowhere. I know how they feel, right? They like this dude is just like, what? Where is he coming from? He's just a dude out here." But it's so funny because I look on my timeline and it's like everybody that I know, right, is like supporting Trey. Trey Jemison. This nobody in the NBA, right? But here he is everything. He's the mayor. We love him here, right? And that's just part of the connection. But this is little things I wanted to just share real quick. Like, shout out to JD. I think JD has become such a. We're so used to him dumping the ball down and doing his thing, being physical. But his screen and roll game, I don't know if it's a big in the AAC. And there's Victor Golden. He has really good hands. I know we don't like him with all this flopping he did, but he has really good hands. And I think him and JD are on a level of their own. This dude catches passes in traffic. He can finish so well. You give him a little space and he finishes the and one almost every time. Shout out to JD, man. And then I think he's our best post position defender as far as in like just getting position and making it hard for guys to bag him down. If it's anything that Yaks need to work on is that. Sometimes he can give up position and guys can just turn around and shoot a right hand layup or whatever. You saw that happen to Will Shaver a little bit too. But I think that JD has really improved. Shout out to EG, bro. Like, his defense. I know Jason had it was how many he had, but it wasn't on EG. Mo Finley said something during the game. He said, I think he said it, he thinks that EG is probably the only player he knows that probably has 100 steals for two different schools. That's a really good stat. And I'm just watching him, and I'm watching him run around on defense. I'm just like, this dude, he's back to that defensive guard. Remember when we had him at the first beginning of the year, and it kind of waned off. And now, like, these past couple of games, EG has been dominant defensively. And I just want to just shine a light on that because that's so important. That's part of the reason that North Texas couldn't do anything. He was single-handedly taking them out of that. And of course, our other shout out to Butter. Butter's the only other guy I feel like on the team that can just get his own, manufacture his own shot. When things bog down, Butter mid-range, you know, like it's like that's the bailout of all bailout shots. So I just wanted to mention that real quick before before we get into everything else.
And shout out to Butter. Hey, a perfect 6 for 6 from the free throw line. Down the stretch, when North Texas was kind of making it. I mean, it wasn't a game, but they had crept it down to 7 or 5, whatever they got it down to. He clutch free throws at the end. I think you said it perfectly, Darian, in regards to EG. Eric's play, has been phenomenal lately. He just needs to make sure he's in practice on time. Going forward, that's the only thing he needs to work on. But yeah, shout out to EG.
You remember we used to have those conversations about like his body language, and I seen none of that. I'm big on like. I like to get on players, but I try to congratulate players twice as hard as I criticize them. I think it's not fair to not criticize them because that's how you get better is constructive criticism. But once a player is doing the things that you're asking of them, I think you need to make it known, like go over the top. I'm big on that. I do that in my youth coaching, right? And I do that in my family. Like if you ask your wife something, right? Like if you ask your wife something, you ask her something that'll help me, right? And then y'all have these conversations, something that's been bothering me. And then she goes out of her way to do it. Sing her praises to the high heaven, right? That's a little tidbit for marriage. If you want a better marriage in your life, make sure you congratulate and acknowledge people. So I just want to acknowledge EG. I know we were tough on him, saying his body language, this. He's changed all of that. He's like smiling and running around, and I just love it, man. I love the growth of this team.
Yeah, shout out to EG. Oh, my light's flickering. Oh, I think one of my lights just went up.
Where are you, John? Are you in the Blazer Victory man cave? Where are you?
No, man, I'm in the kitchen this time. My wife's working downstairs, in the Blazer Victory cave. So, but yeah, hey, shout out to EG. Hey, and shout out to Tony. 8 boards. Did y'all realize he got 8 rebounds? A career high. Yeah, 8 rebounds, a couple clutch shots, a clutch 3 that came at a very pivotal time in the ball game. But yeah, shout out to all the guys. Good win, and I will throw it to Jimmy because I know you've got some great stats and defensive stats in particular.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that before we wrap that we talked about the UAB defense because the UAB defense has certainly been trending up here in the American Athletic Conference play. And we knew coming in the game that North Texas was going to do what they do, meaning they're going to be physical. They're going to play great defense. They're going to be methodical on offense. But it was really UAB that matched that physicality and effort on defense. And AK talked about that in the post game. But for those of you that were watching the game, there was a period of time there in the first half where I think it was like the under 12 to the under 8, where it was like 12-9. And it was like just neither team could score. Y'all watching from home probably thought that the box score in ESPN was broke. Like, wait, what's going on?
I was about to say that. I had to leave again. I came back on. I was like, man, I was trying to like fast forward. You know how you fast forward? And I was like, what is it? It's still 12-9. Like, what's going on?
Yeah, I think it was EG that hit his lone 3 that put it at 12 all, and it was like the under 8 timeout. And I'm just sitting there, and I'm like, and there was all the jokes about talking about feeling like you're getting a root canal or this, but it truly does feel like hard. And we talked about the crowd, but that certainly, and Darren mentioned this earlier, like that certainly played a factor too. Is like when you're playing a team that would just lock you down, and then you're gonna, I think AK called it, it's a battle of will, not skill. And like, you're just going to have to out tough the opponent. Nobody wants to watch that. Let's just be real. Nobody wants to watch that. That speaking of entertainment, like, hey, we're glad that we won and there were some awesome moments, but it's like, hey, give me this up tempo. Let's see Rice on Wednesday. Let's have it, 100. Let's hit 100. You know what I'm saying? But anyways, the big thing this game was North Texas struggled from 3, like, and UAB, was able to, essentially disrupt, their 3-point shooting, but 4 of 18 for North Texas from downtown, 22%. This is after they had connected on 9 or more threes in their previous 3 games. So against Memphis, we know they hit 16. At SMU on the road in front of a good crowd, they hit 12. And at Tulsa, they hit 9. And that was a progression. They went from 9 to 12 to 16. And they hit 4 against us. So some of that was, missed looks, but it started off with us being physical, running out, closing out on shots, doing a good job. Darian mentioned Bugs earlier. And AK's, joked a couple of times like that guy just cannot connect on a three against UAB. And thank goodness, because he has been on absolute fire. He was shooting 60+% from three in league play coming in the game, but he went 0 for 7 overall, 0 for 6 from deep against UAB in this one. So that was huge. And then UAB, staying on the subject of 3-point percentages, UAB's kind of been sneaky good against the three in recent matchups. The exception would be against FAU, who hit 10, although that was in an overtime contest. But against North Texas, again, UNT hit 4. Tulsa, who had been connecting on threes at high volume, had only hit 3 against UAB. And at SMU, they hit 5. And we just saw what they did to Memphis, last night, scoring, 100 points. So UAB is certainly improving on the defensive end. And that's helped because offensively, we haven't had the same output offensively here as of late. But it's that defense that's locking up and playing that AK style. And I think that's going to be a huge thing to continue to monitor as it relates to UAB's success in chasing this AAC regular season championship and obviously the conference tournament as well.
Yeah, you know what it's like watching that I just thought of, talking about, hey, you've seen a UFC fight, right? You've seen the ones where people get knocked out, like, oh my God, Conor McGregor. Then you see the ones where it's like, oh, nice leg kick, right? Like, what a leg kick. Oh, it's a grapple. What grapple defense? Like, it's not even a takedown. It's like a grapple defense, right? It goes, and it's kind of like, what did I just watch? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like watching the Floyd Mayweather fights in his later half of his career. It's kind of like jab, dodge, clinch, jab. And I'm just like, woo, this is a tough watch, man. This is let's go UAB, right? You can feel it taking whatever life the crowd had. It just kind of like, choked it out. But hey, you have to win those. Those are those fights that's like in a phone booth. You gotta win different styles, and we have won different styles, and I'm proud of the team for that. Hey Jimmy, you had brought up some Janelle Davis AAC stats. I'm ready for the Yaks Janelle Davis discussion to take place. I'm team Yaks 100%. I've said it. If you believe in all around play, not just points, I'm talking rebounds and defense. Like, I'm ready to go stat for stat here. What we got?
Hey, I want to say this. This would make for a hell of a podcast episode. Is why don't we bring on, what is the FAU guys at the Owl's Nest or something? Let's bring on like an FAU guy and just have John L. Davis, FAU, versus Darian Smith, Yaks. Let's just do that.
Yeah, let's do it, man. I'm banging on the table for this.
John L., you know how media voting works. I mean, like, he's got the storyline going into the season. And, having watched John L., like, even yesterday, like, he's got that knack to just pull up a three, like, in clutch situations. And, like, he at the guard position, rebounds. I think he's at 6 or 7 a game. And his assists, like, he just does a little bit of everything. And, like, you look at his turnovers. I mean, I'm looking at statistics here. Like, I mean, in conference play, John L. Davis is quite the beast. But I love watching John L. Davis and Yaks go against one another. And I think we can settle this, Darian, in the American Athletic Conference championship game in Fort Worth, Texas. Have John L. Davis versus Yaks. Winner gets the belt. Winner goes to the NCAA tournament, but also gets the Player of the Year discussion.
Hey, because we know Memphis ain't gonna be in that game.
Oh.
Yeah, Memphis ain't gonna be in that game. But so I can say this: Do you guys have conference stats up? I would like to know the conference stats between both of those players.
I think that's what, Jimmy, you put the last few games in the chat, right?
Yeah, so you can see, Darren, I put in the chat, you look at John L. Davis's, it's not averaged out, but you can see John L. hasn't had a game in which he scored less than 14 points in conference play. He scored over 20 points 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times. And you look at the rebounding numbers. He's had 5 or more rebounds in essentially every single game outside of 2. He's had, you look here, he's had numerous games over 5 assists. He's not blocking shots, obviously, at the rate that a Yaks would. You see the steals. He's kind of doing a little bit of everything. Free throw line percentage, is pretty good as well. So, I mean, this
So
dude,
another thing I wonder about is efficiency.
yeah,
It's okay to have all of those points and stuff, but how efficient are you, right, in doing that? Because
yeah. He's
that's a big thing.
people that would argue for John L, and I'm not arguing for John L. I'm Team Yaks till I die. But you look at the efficiency numbers, and when you try to, just consider the fact that the threes. I mean, he's
It's
shooting so many
pretty
more threes than Yaks,
pretty
right? So that's going
efficient.
to impact a little bit. But yeah, John L. Davis, don't give a damn about John L. Davis or Vlad Trash Bag. I don't care. It's Team Yaks all day long.
Ooh, I love it.
Hey,
Hey,
hey, FAU is legit though. I
oh
still
yeah.
I vividly can remember sitting here in my living room and rooting like hell for them against Memphis, last season, the NCAA tournament, and like all throughout that run and being bummed, when they lost that last game. So I like FAU. I like that
Yeah.
people trash on them because they've got a small gym. I think Dusty May is awesome. So this ain't no real shade. It's just I'm gonna
Mm-mm.
choose
It's just
Jackson UAB all day long. I don't care.
it's just
Right.
competition, but we got respect for FAU just like we do
Mm-hmm.
for North Texas and all of
Yes.
those,
Mm-hmm.
all of our conference
Charlotte.
mates. Just Charlotte,
Charlotte.
all
Yeah.
of
Mm-hmm.
you. What I don't know what to feel about it. USF basketball fans are so much better than USF football fans. I don't know what was up with USF football fans. They were acting like Memphis, but basketball, they're good. It's like they
Yeah.
flip flop because Memphis football fans were cool, but I don't know what's up with their basketball fans. I
Their
don't.
basketball fans are humble.
Who USF?
Yeah,
And
they're
they've been
humble.
around longer. Like, they didn't start their football program to what, like the 90s, about when UAB started. If correct
Yeah,
me if I'm wrong,
yeah.
but your basketball rich tradition in basketball, just like
I
UAB
love their
does.
coach. I love their coach. For those
Oh,
of you that
it,
didn't see like
mm,
that environment at South Florida, like I know it's one game, but it was unreal. Like to
I
watch it
saw
like on
it.
television, I
It was
loved
so
it. Like
loud. It was
such an
so
awesome game.
loud.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like it's a couple of fans that I haven't really met from the AAC. Like one thing I'm wondering about is like Wichita State has like history. I have yet to see like a Wichita State fan, man.
yeah, I don't know either,
Wi-Fi is
but
tough up there.
Jimmy, we
Jimmy
still
gonna
got to
get
play
us
them.
hated. They gonna get
Yeah.
us hated, bro. like
The
they,
Shockers
hey,
are going
they
to shock the world.
I doubt they're listening. They're gonna listen to this podcast
Especially this
anyway.
deep.
Like,
Y'all know I'm stressing out because we're getting close to 40 minutes.
Hey, speaking of which, I say one thing I always notice. Y'all know they have that summer, like I forgot what they even call it. They have these random basketball
Oh,
TBI, the basketball
yeah.
invitational or whatever. But they always have like a team like there, and they'll get freaking like 5,000 fans like in that arena, like to watch these guys that played like 10 years ago, like in a Shockers uniform. So I have mad respect for like how much they care about their basketball program. And I've always wanted UAB. How fun would that be for UAB to have some guys playing in one of those tournaments? Because we got some dudes, man. Like give
Yeah.
me give me some Chris Coakley and haha William Lee and
And some
hell
Darian
throw
Smith.
Darian Smith would
Yeah,
coach. At the
right.
very
Oh,
least,
yeah.
Darian Smith
I
could coach.
I can coach. I can't give you more than like a minute and 30 increments. Like I got to get better at that. But yeah, but it's cool. I love being in this conference and maybe down the line we'll connect with more other like the other fan bases. I was just wondering. It's crazy that you talk about the support of Wichita State. It's just their online. They're like door to door people. I guess they're strictly grassroots, right? You talking about Will from Memphis?
Shaver or oh, okay, yeah. Gotcha.
And then you
I
almost
said we
made me.
bringing Will on. That's an interview I want to hear.
Man, you almost made me curse. But you know what? Have y'all ever visited his spaces? Like, go back and listen to his space recording. I don't. These dudes are funny. Like, they're. I will give them that. I can't hate on that. These dudes are entertaining. Like they tell jokes and they crack on that. The stuff that they say is hilarious. So it's. I find myself going to his. I find myself going to his spaces just to listen. It's funny. I can't lie. I don't even like the dude, but it's funny. So he's entertaining. But yeah, man. Maybe down the line we'll connect with more fan bases. I'm kind of liking this segment of talking about the different fan bases. Like I'm
Yeah.
familiar with I'm familiar with North Texas. I'm familiar with UTSA because of the heartbreak they've given us in football over and over, right? Who else are we pretty familiar with? I'm looking at John.
I mean,
John would know.
yeah, I mean, we've got connections everywhere pretty much, except Wichita. I do not know anybody that
Temple.
covers them or Temple. Well, yeah, I know a couple Temple connections. 247 guy Ryan's cool. And they've got a basketball site. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. But they've got some old school fans because Temple's got some rich history too, especially in basketball. But yeah, well, all right, yeah. Well, Darian's video cut out, so I guess this is a good time to. Oh, you get a call.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
Jimmy, go ahead and send us that.
Hey, just one quick shout out to Corey, one of our loyal listeners. Met you at the game. Appreciate you saying hello, and we appreciate all of our listeners. Blazer Nation, just blaze.
Show up Wednesday night against Rice, 7 p.m.